Hello, beautiful peaches. Welcome to the Macros, Metabolism, and Motivation Beautiful Peach podcast. I'm your host, Caitlen, a reverse diet expert, sustainable fat loss nerd, and food freedom lover. After healing my own mind, body, and metabolism from the icky, restrict, binge, food guilt cycles, I became obsessed with helping other women do the same. I spent 6 years getting my bachelor's and master's degrees in all things nutrition, dietetics, and metabolism health, go Clemson Tigers, in order to start a science-backed, never cookie-cutter, always customized online macro and reverse diet coaching business. I have supported over 3,500 incredible women in their journey to endless results, and I am so excited to help you do the same. In this podcast, I will be teaching you how to break up with the yo-yo diet cycles, tips and tricks to heal your metabolism through reverse dieting. I will be giving away my sustainable weight loss secrets, all without you having to give up a single food you love. So if you are ready to rediscover that self-love and truly become the most confident, beautiful peach possible, grab a pen and a piece of paper, bump up your volume just a little, and let's dive right in. And don't forget to snag your completely free high-protein macro cookbook. All you need to do is submit a quality 5-star rate and review on this podcast, then fill out the form in the show notes so I know exactly where to send your cookbook. This will actually also automatically enter you into the weekly macro calculator giveaway. Every week, I give away a copy of my C. Schmidt macro calculator to one lovely, beautiful peach who has left an awesome 5-star rate and review on this podcast. The winner is announced every single week in my email newsletter email list, as well as my Instagram story. You can't miss it. So leave that 5-star rate and review, and I will see you in the episode. What is up, my beautiful, beautiful peach? Today, we are going to be talking about how to deal with gym anxiety. I am completely obsessed with this episode because I personally used to really struggle with gym anxiety, and I think I have like 6 tips to share with you that have been a complete game changer for me. So I'm actually going to talk through my personal experiences with gym anxiety. And yes, I do every once in a while still have times where I'm like, whoa, this is a lot. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what gym anxiety can look like and how it actually can impact our results, overall our results, crazy enough, and my top tips to help you let go of that gym anxiety. So without further ado, let's dive in because these tips are awesome. Make sure you have a pen and a piece of paper or, write in your notes, whatever it may be. If you're driving, please don't text and drive. Just do a voice note or something. We want to be safe, but let's dive into this episode, how to deal with gym anxiety. Going to the gym, especially if you are newer to, going in strength training or going into this new environment of the gym, it can be intimidating. And I used to overall have the fears of being judged at the gym, of looking silly at the gym, or of looking like I didn't know what I was doing. And I completely understand these fears, and I have 2 personal stories around this. So I want to talk about this first one first. Of course, that makes sense, right? You go through one story, and then you go through the second. So let's talk about the first story first. That sounds so silly. We are feeling silly today, as we always are. We being me. And Trisket, we can put Trisket in that one as well. She's like in and out of the room. It's a cozy rainy day. So she was like, woke up this morning. Colton's like, this is our little meteorologist dog. It was hard to say. She'll like wake up all shaky knowing it's going to rain. And I don't know how she knows. So she's like going in between like feeling excited today. And then she remembers it's raining and she'll curl up in the corner. Anyway, let's dive into this first story. And this happened when I was very first starting to lift weights. So this was back when I was at Clemson University. I have my bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics and my master's degree in exercise science and sports nutrition, where I actually wrote my master's thesis on healing our metabolism through reverse dieting so we can lose more weight, right? So we can really break free from that that diet mentality, and it is just like my favorite thing to talk about. But when I was at Clemson, I actually, crazy enough, was on a path to be a dentist or orthodontist. I didn't really know which one I wanted to do. I had braces for like 8 years, I think, and then I had like retainers. And the biggest regret of mine is stopping wearing my lower retainer, because now I'm like, oh gosh, I have one tooth that's starting to turn. I'm like, I don't want braces again. Anyway, point being here, I was on a path to be a dentist or orthodontist. I changed my major to nutrition and dietetics, and was actually on a path to go work at a hospital as a dietitian there. And then once I got my master's degree, I was like, oh heck no, I am like all in on the human metabolism, all in on macros, all in on all things supporting women through that healing process of weight loss and our metabolism and food freedom. And it's been so incredible. But when I was back at Clemson and when I was starting in this journey, it was like right when I just changed my major, I stumbled on, I think it was some sort of Instagram or something like that. Maybe it was a podcast. And it was just these really strong, confident women sharing their nutrition, sharing their body confidence tips, sharing even metabolism, health, education. And I was like enthralled. And it's so wild how it has now come full circle, and welcome to me today, who it literally led me to going and getting massive amounts of degrees, which if you are interested in this, please don't take this as like you need to go back to school or anything like that. I am here to teach you all of these things, but it's just wild how things have come full circle. It's so crazy. And back when I was in that space, I learned how strength training could actually help me grow more muscle, build that beautiful, beautiful muscle. It could actually help with a body recomp, which is pretty wild. I really wanted to have that lean waist, big booty look, that big booty Judy. I worked at Gold's Gym for a while during my, when I was in grad school, my master's, and they called me Big Booty Judy back then, which now thinking back, I'm like, is that weird? I don't really know. It was all the girls, and like we just like joked about it. But the point being here is when I started that journey and I started the strength training, it was scary. I did not know what the heck I was doing, and I was in this place where I was scared to go to the gym. I knew and I recognized that strength training would be so incredibly helpful. I knew and I recognized that the number on the scale isn't going to matter as much. And I think this is something, when we are having that body recomp, when we are having that change to our body, we're building this beautiful muscle. We can see that fat loss happening. Muscle weighs more than fat. And I think a lot of people don't realize that although your body composition might change in a way that you want it to, the scale might not even move. It might fluctuate, but your overall ideal body, that's what you're getting. And I think what's interesting is when people come to BPM, my Beautiful Peach Mastermind, and they're like, I don't really care about the number on the scale. I just want to physically feel better. I want to lose inches. I want to lose fat and gain muscle. And they have this level of awareness of, the scale not being the main factor of success. And they have this like open-minded, hey, like teach me, Caitlen, like show me what's going on. And the full transparency is the women who have past the stress of the scale and they don't see the scale fluctuate by, a pound one day or 2 pounds another day. Scales are always going to fluctuate. It's always going to be an up and down, up and down. It doesn't mean that you're truly gaining weight overnight, but it allows, once you get past this mindset of the scale really does not matter, because you could have more muscle than you ever believed, less fat, and you actually could weigh more than you did when you first started, but you have your dream body. And we're getting a little tangent here, but I think what's really important is if you are stressed over the scale, I have an episode, I can't remember the exact episode there, but I really challenge you to start to work on breaking through that stress over the scale and start to really get the education. And maybe I can do more podcast episodes on this, but more education behind why the scale actually doesn't matter, how body recomp happens, how when we gain more muscle, that can cause us to weigh more, even though our overall body composition, we might be losing inches. And once you can get past that, it allows you to open, your mind to this incredible, incredible space where you're able to say, holy moly, I look and feel amazing. The number on the scale is actually, exactly the same as it was when I started, or, whatever it may be. And it's like, I don't really care, right? You don't really care what the number is on the scale. And it's a really, really freeing experience, and it's a really freeing process. well, we're not getting, I might do a full episode on this because I feel like this is a really good information. But side note aside, coming back to my gym anxiety here is number one, when I decided to do strength training, I was doing endless cardio at that time, and I was terrified because when I pictured a gym, I pictured all these like muscle men walking around like grunting, which there are definitely people like that in the gym, and it kind of makes me giggle because I'm like, we hear you grunting. Yes, we hear you. Yep, we acknowledge. And it's just like, man, take it back a notch, you know? Just take a breather. But I was really scared because I had this picture in my mind of everybody judging me, of me looking like a complete idiot, wandering around the gym, having no idea what I was doing. And the gym that I was going to was actually a Gold's Gym at Clemson. And they had this like separate room in the back. So like when you walked in the gym, they had a spin room on the far left at the back. And then on the right, there was this extra little room, which honestly, it was, in my mind, considered like a women's workout room, a women's strength training room. And back there was, you know, strength equipment. There were some machines. There were, I think, a small set of dumbbells, a small rack of dumbbells. But all of the, what I would consider like your big girl gym equipment, so like the big leg press, the squat rack, you know, lots and lots and lots of extra equipment when it comes to strength training were in the main area. And for me, I felt at the time a little bit more at ease going into what I was considering the women's room. And so that's how I started. And not every gym has that. And I started there, which was great. It gave me that little, you know, that little boost of confidence of, hey, I can just wander around here. I won't be judged. You know, there's other women in here kind of doing the same thing as me, kind of wandering, getting my sea legs, like kind of figuring things out. It was not as intense of a overall experience in the gym. Now, my thing about this is most gyms actually don't have this. Most gyms aren't going to have a section that's kind of closed off from the rest of the gym. And even on top of this, like as I was going to the little women's area, I was really itching to start doing the squats. I wanted to do squats. I wanted to do what in my mind I consider like the big girl leg press. I wanted to try, you know, deadlifts, which now have become my absolute favorite exercise. I adore deadlifts. I find them so fun. I find them so empowering. I really enjoy them. I hate squats, if we're being honest. I do not look forward to them. Hip thrusts, like I know they're great for me. I just don't enjoy them as much. Deadlifts, I'm like, I feel like I am Wonder Woman. I feel so good. And anyway, at the time, I had never done them before. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to go into, you know, the big girl weight section, and I'm going to do some squats. I was ready. I watched countless videos on how to squat before going into the gym that day. I walked in there holding my head high, like shoulders back. I was like, I am going to do this. I walked up to that squat rack pretending I knew exactly what I was doing. I had been doing squats for ages and ages, and I royally messed up. I had no idea what I was doing. I was clanking. I was like dropping the barbell. I was so embarrassed. I think I did like a few sets or a few reps, not even sets. I think I did like a few reps. Felt like everybody was watching me. Felt like I was being judged, and immediately I stopped. I went to my car and I cried. I bawled my eyes out. I felt so completely embarrassed of myself. I felt so incredibly just like, why, Caitlen? Why can't you just do that? And I was really thinking, were the other women out there judging me? Was anybody in there judging me? Like, why should I be here? What do I don't know what I'm doing. But internally, I was like, I don't want to give up. I don't just want to call it quits because I had one failure. I had one moment where I was like, oh, that really sucks. Like, that did not feel good. And I know that if nothing changes, nothing changes. And looking back to this experience, and me, this is one of the more empowering experiences I've had because I was so unbelievably outside of my comfort zone. I was so unbelievably terrified, and I was in it alone at the time. I had nobody to support me at the time. I was just like here trying to struggle through on my own, trying to like get through those deep waters. And I also knew that the times of discomfort and the times where I am just like, whoa, this is hard, is when you have to keep pushing. You don't just want to give up, because that is going to train yourself that you are not worthy. That is going to train yourself to give up. And that is going to train yourself to think that you can't, that you shouldn't be getting into the uncomfortable and continuing forward, okay? I didn't want to sit there and complain. I didn't want to sit there and feel uncomfortable. I wanted to find solutions. I wanted to see the bigger picture. So to keep the story short, I continued to push myself. I continued to show up, and I messed up a lot when learning how to lift weights. I watched so incredibly many videos on having the proper form, because the last thing you want to do is have improper form and end up having, harming your body, doing something that's going to cause, I cannot preach that enough. You want to make sure you're doing proper form. Highly, highly, highly encourage you watching I would say it's tough, because like when you go to YouTube or when you go to wherever you see, there are millions of videos of just random people doing exercises, and you have no clue if they actually have proper form or not. So I'm like, how do I tell you where to go? My Peaches workout app, you can pop into that. I do full progressive overload all my strength training workouts are in there. I have exercise videos on there too, but I'm like, how can you find? Just make sure you find someone who's educated, who has the background like me, myself, and I, who knows how to do proper form. So this leads me to my first two tips. I don't want to keep going down a little distracted zone here, but one of my first big tips here is nobody's actually judging you. And I am personally not the one who loves to be in the spotlight. I really, I don't love to be in the middle. This is when my husband and I, at the time he was my fiance, when we were getting married and we had wedding showers, I had all of our showers be couple showers, because I didn't want to sit there alone and open the presents. I'm like, that's my worst nightmare. It's like, you sit there, it's so, I don't know. And I know it's really not that awkward for everybody, but I don't like being the center of attention. So I had my husband there with me, and we did a couple showers so he could open the gifts with me. And I did public speaking classes actually in college, which was terrifying, but I had to do it, and I did it. And also, do you know who was really paying attention in those classes? Just the teacher, right? The rest of the class is in their own world, probably pretending they're paying attention. Very likely, most of them are zoned out, or also probably thinking about their own nerves of standing up in front of everybody else. Oh my goodness, that's some crazy thunder. I don't know if you can actually hear it. It is storming outside, and I love it. But I think that we are always fearful that and thinking that everybody is watching us, but really, most people aren't, And I think, a lot of them probably aren't even paying attention. They're probably zoned out. I will fully admit I am the queen of like zoning out. When I was back in college, I was in a sorority. All of the freshmen were always terrified of me, and I never got it. I was like, I don't understand. Like, I'm a very approachable person. Like, I'm such a goofball. Like, I'm a weirdo. Like, I'm fun, and I'm just like a goofy person. And after, like, I would meet them, and we'd get to be talking, and they're like, I'm like in shock that I was actually scared of you. And I was like, yeah, same. I am too. And I think they said it just because I guess I like zone out, and I don't realize I sometimes have a little bit of like a stank face if I'm not intentionally trying to smile, which 90% of the time I'm like walking around smiling at people. Like, Caitlen makes fun of me because I will walk down the street and I'm like, I'll smile at someone. If they don't smile back, I'm like, what's your problem? Like, you're having a bad day? Let me smile at you some more. And he's like, Caitlen, just give it a break. And I'm like, no, I want them to crack and smile back. But I think the big thing is some of them, in talking to them, they thought that, it's wild to me. They thought that they were like, oh my gosh, I was so scared that you were like judging me. And I'm like, I am like the least judgmental person out there. Like, I am here to give you the big bear hugs. I am here to show you that you're human, that you are okay. But the point of this is, I am sure that so many people that we might consider someone who seems like they're judging us is probably not even paying attention, probably is in their own world like I always am. And also, they might even be looking at you thinking, oh my gosh, she's judging me, right? And I think that's just human nature for us to believe that. And so I think for us letting go of the idea that someone's judging us and just kind of pushing forward and be like, hey, I think they're judging me, but you know what? They're probably not. They're probably looking at me saying like, oh man, I wish I looked like her. I wish I had her confidence, right? I wish, this and that. I want to interrupt this oh so lovely podcast episode of mine to let you know that BPM, my beautiful peach mastermind, is open for enrollment. BPM is my high-level group coaching program for women who want to reverse diet to heal their metabolism from that restrictive burnout so they can lose the weight and keep it off for good. It is for women who want to increase their energy and joy for life so they can chase after their kiddos, go out to eat with their significant other, and even have wine night with the girls without that restrict, binge, and food guilt cycle. As a bonus, all of my BPM clients get complimentary access to my reverse diet course, where you will learn exactly how to adjust macros for reverse dieting on your own. This quite literally includes my own personal spreadsheets that help you customize your reverse diet for your success. I even threw in my alcohol plug-and-play tracker for you ladies. Go ahead and apply through the link in the show notes or hop over to my Instagram and feel free to send me the DM BPM sneak peek for my inside look of the program details. I can't wait to see your application and enjoy the rest of the episode. And I think in the second tip here, it kind of in a way goes hand in hand. Everyone starts somewhere, including me, myself, and I, right? I bawled my eyes out after completely failing at squats. And when I see someone who's at the gym, who's working hard, who's trying, I'm like, good for them. Like, good for them. I've had somebody come up to me and say, hey, like, I'm new in the gym. You look like you know what you're doing. Do you mind showing me how to do this? And I'm like, absolutely, I will. Like, I had so much respect for that because they recognize that everybody starts somewhere. So if somebody is judging you for that, like, they need to take a step back, and also they're probably not judging, okay? Number 3, this has a little side story to it. So if this is like my own personal thing, I'm like, I think that person's glaring at me. Like, they're probably not. They're probably just focused. And so if you think someone is glaring at you, they're probably not. Every once in a while, yes, somebody is just mean. We were in our Airbnb, now I guess it's not a full month ago, but in this, if you've been listening to my podcast episodes, a little personal story here is my husband and I 2 months ago, I think it was literally like 2 months ago, which is pretty wild, decided we were going to move from Jacksonville, Florida, and get a little bit closer to our family. He applied to jobs. He got one really fast. They wanted him to start within 2 weeks. We're like, whoa, can't quite do that. Like, we're still very settled in Jacksonville. Long story short, we were able to make the move within a month, but we weren't able to find like a short-term rental and definitely not buy a house because we had no idea like where we want to be. So we were in an Airbnb for a month, which was actually such a good move. We put all our stuff in pods, which that alone was quite the interesting experience, shall I say. Probably will never use pods again, but that is different story for this. And so while we were in that Airbnb, we were testing out a couple different gyms, kind of like getting our sea legs, like what would feel best. And also to finish that story, we are now in a little rental until we decide we want to buy a house, which, who knows, 6 months, a year, I don't know. We shall see. We're still trying to figure out like where we want to be. But point being, we were trying out a new gym, and I kid you not, this woman walked by me. I was on the I had this vivid, I don't know, it's so funny. Okay, so I'm on this leg extension, and I'm like sitting here with my hands doing the movement of the leg extension. So I'm doing leg extensions, and this woman walks by me, and it's like she is coming on the side, and she's like watching me. She's like straight face glare, like really kind of like mean look at me. And she's like walking all the way by. She goes all the way by. This entire time she's glaring at me, head directly facing me, like turning as she's walking. And I'm like, whoa, what are we looking at here, lady? And so you know what I did? And I think it probably made her a little annoyed. I smiled so big back at her. And I think she was like, what the heck? And it just, I don't know. I feel bad for people who are, at first I was like, why is she glaring at me? Like, that's not nice. But then I was like, you know what? She's probably having a really bad day. There's something going on in her life. Like, she's so unhappy at herself. She has to glare at other people to make herself feel better. She wants to put other people down, whether that was actually her intention. For all I know, maybe she wasn't intentionally glaring. She was just like zoned out watching me. Maybe she was looking at me like being like, whoa, go girl with those light extensions. I have no idea. My own interpretation was that she was glaring at me. So number one, if someone's genuinely like not a nice person, they glare, they're mean, they have more negative going on in their life, and I like love and prayers their way. And also, she might not have actually been intentionally glaring at me, and I just took it that way, which then comes back to our piece of like, not everybody's out to glare, not everybody's out to judge. And so it's one of those things where it's like that mind check of, hey, like love and prayers your way if you're having a bad day. And also maybe you're not even judging. And so I thought that was an interesting story because this literally just happened, and it brought that uneasiness of like, oh my gosh, why am I getting this look? Like, what did I do wrong? Am I doing, is my form wrong? I'm like, no, my form's like really, really good. I was like, what's going on? And so I'm like internally being like, why is this chick staring at me? And basically the moral of the story is like, let it go, let it go. And another tip here, this sounds so silly, but smile at people. When I was in kindergarten, they called me Smiley because I'm just like always smiling. And, which is funny because I think when I'm paying attention, like I'm intentionally smiling at people, but when I'm like in my old world, I guess I have like a stink face. I'm not really sure. But when I'm paying attention, I'm like smiling at everyone. I'm like walking down the street. I'll probably like too bubbly for some people. That's fine. Life goes on. And I know it sounds so silly, but it gives you so much more confidence. It makes you happy, and genuinely like it makes you feel better because you see other people's face light up when you're smiling at them, when you're kind to them. And when you are focusing in on that kindness and that positivity, it pushes that negativity away, okay? Our minds are so powerful, which is why if we're going to sit around and complain all the time, we are going to give ourselves pity parties, we are going to glare at other people, that's not going to make you feel any better. But if you own up to yourself, if you smile at others, if you bring kindness, if you get out of your comfort zone and you push yourself forward, it will make the difference. Now, story number 2, this is going to be a little bit of a quicker one, but so this is like when we were just at this other gym, and so I think it was actually not the same gym as the girl who was glaring. This is another one that we tried. We're weird, and we tried like so many different gyms, and now we're at like a completely different gym again. We're in a little bit of a different area anyway, but gym environment is so important. But anyway, to each their own. We tried out a bunch of different gyms. We had a grand time doing it. I'm weird. I love it. And it was a great time. But we tried this new gym, a different one we were at the Airbnb, and the one that we had in Jacksonville was a little bit more quaint. So it was a little bit smaller, and there was equipment that I hadn't seen in a long time. We were in Jacksonville for 4 years. I hadn't seen some of this equipment. There was some equipment that I've actually never seen before. It was a hip thrust machine. I've heard of them. I've never seen them in person. I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I actually don't really like it. I don't know if it was just the specific one that I did, but I did not love it. I would rather just like get my barbell, set it up, do my hip thrust that way. It just better, I don't know, feels better to me. But I was wandering around looking like I had no idea what I was doing because I had no idea. I was trying to find equipment. I was, sometimes like dropping weights. I was like getting used to new machines. I was like, whoa, I am lost in this new gym. I can't find what I need. I'm wandering back and forth. I dropped my Stanley entirely. Yes, I have fallen into the Stanley crew. I'm not gonna lie, I really, really like it. But I dropped my Stanley and literally the whole thing spilled. And it's the 42 ounce or whatever. I think it's a 40, I think it's 40. I think it's 40 because it's 32 and then 40. Anyway, it's a big one. Spilled it everywhere. And I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, I am embarrassing myself. Like, who am I? What am I doing? Why am I spilling this water everywhere? I'm like head down, like grabbing paper towel, like trying to clean it up. I'm like, deep breaths, Caitlen, you're gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine. And, I got it all cleaned up, stood up, held my head high, shoulders back, didn't make eye contact with anyone, and just immediately went to the opposite side of the gym. And I was like, we are not doing anything in this area until maybe a few minutes later. And I went to like a different, I don't know what I was doing, but I can't even remember, different equipment. Anyway, and looking back, I'm like, wait a second. I was embarrassed because I spilled water. Like I was like genuinely like face tomato bright red, embarrassed because I had spilled water. And looking back, I'm like, I'm human. People are probably looking at me being like, oh man, I've done that before, right? Or not even paying attention. People don't, I think we are so, and this is, okay, so 2 thoughts here. I think we're always so hyper-focused on what other people can think about us that that's all we can focus on, when in reality, they're probably not thinking anything. They're probably not even paying attention to us. And I am a huge therapy advocate. I think every person in the entire world should have a therapist because I think they are phenomenal. And it's just nice to it really helps you step into this place where you can have a much more open mindset on things. And I had a therapist a while back who, she said, oh gosh, how did she phrase it? She basically said that people actually don't care as much about you as you think they do. Something like that. But basically, we think everybody cares so much more about us and are thinking about us and are judging us than they really are. They probably don't even think, have twice the thought. What is that saying? Anyway, they're probably not thinking about you for more than 2 seconds and they move on. And so I think the big thing for me is when I'm stressed, I'm nobody is actually caring what I'm doing. Nobody is judging, except for the girl who glared. Maybe she was judging, maybe she was not. Who really knows? But in the point of, if somebody really is, they are not worth our time. So this leads me to 3 more tips that I have, and then I am almost done, and this is a long episode here. Number 1, wear something that you are comfortable in. So for me, we are women, and during our cycle, our hormones can change. There are sometimes when I'm ovulating where I'm let's go with that sports bra. Let's get my little workout shorts on. I'm feeling good. There are days where I'm going in my sweats. I want my hat on. Nobody talk to me. Nobody look at me, right? Wear what you're going to be comfortable in. If you want to wear sweats all the time, do it to it. If you want to get a cute little outfit to wear to the gym because it makes you feel good, if you want to get that makeup on because it makes you feel good, do it to it. It does not matter. Do what's going to make you feel good and allow you to show up at that gym, okay? Number 2, review your workout prior going to the gym. I did this for a very long time when I was getting into strength training, and I still do. I'll look at my workout beforehand, so I'm okay, cool, I want to get through this quick and efficiently. I normally work out for 30 minutes, max 45 minutes. If I'm dilly-dallying, sometimes it's an hour. But that usually means I'm just talking to Caitlen. We're not moving very fast. I'm laying on the mat, just kind of laying there at times. Anyway, I like to make it quick and efficient. I don't have time to work out all day, every day. We do not have time to live in the gym. Life is more than just the gym, okay? And you can see results without living in the gym. I think that's a really important piece because I think so many people think you have to work out 24/7 every single day, all these things. And it's no, I'm working out 3 times a week right now. I think I am going to be going up to 4 times a week because that might work in my schedule right now. But for the past 3 years, I've been a 3 times a week strength training kind of gal. And that has been working phenomenal for me, okay? 30 to 45 minutes and I'm out, right? What is that? Say I work out 30 minutes 3 times a week. That is an hour and a half in 1 week that I worked out, okay? And it's the same where your nutrition, your metabolism, your macros, that's the driver's seat in a car, and your exercise is the passenger seat. So you want to make sure your macros are perfect, you have the good macro adjustments, you have a killer metabolism, you want all of those pieces in line, in tune, feeling good, and then you get your workouts on the side. And yes, of course, we want to have that strength training if your main goal is to build muscle. Again, I think I say this a lot, but I just want to reiterate, if you don't want to do strength training, then don't. That's okay. I am a firm believer, this is what I do with my BPM clients at the very beginning of BPM, you and I will talk through what feels best to you. I have triathlons, I have marathon runners, I have ladies who love their yoga, I have ladies who love their marathons. I think I might have said that first, I can't remember. But I have ladies who love their strength training. There is such a large variety. I had someone who was an avid rock climber. And the point is, what you do, you should enjoy, okay? You do not have to do anything because I said so or because the diet world says so. You get to do what you want because it makes you happy and you can maintain that, okay? Now, the last piece here, did I finish that story? I think I did. What was I going to say? I'm wait a second, I think I had more to that. Basically, when you come into BPM, you and I will have a conversation and create a really solid game plan that fits to you, fits your lifestyle, fits your goals, all that fun stuff. I think that's where I was going with that. But the last thing here is, if you can, go to the gym when it's more empty. And I know and I recognize that's not possible for everyone, but sometimes what I like to do if I am... And I actually asked this. So the gym that my husband and I joined, we joined literally last week. And I asked, I went up to the front desk and I was is there a time that the gym is most empty? And for whatever reason, I'm not going to jinx myself. It has been nice going there. And I've gone at many different times during the day without large crowds, which at one of the other gyms, I was ooh, I have to wait for machines. not into that. So don't go to the gym is the most empty, or if you get a chance, go and ask somebody who works there, like, when's the best time to come to the gym if I want it to be more empty. They're going to know. Ask the trainer, ask whoever it is, they're going to know. An empty gym is like my happy place. I feel so gosh darn good when it's nice and empty. So those were a lot of tips. I think there's like 6 solid tips in there. Lots of information for you. If you are someone who's just like, I need help, Caitlen, please reach out to me on DM on Instagram. I always have the link to my Instagram down below in the show notes, but you can also just search in your web browser. If you type in CSCHMIDT.fit, F-I-T, that will bring you directly to my website. That will also allow you to find my Instagram. You can just type CSCHMIDT into your Instagram. That's where I hang out. That's where I am. That's where I love to hang out. So feel free to DM me. I am here to support you always. Please never forget your worth. Please never forget that you are human. And don't forget, like, when you're seeing people out there, especially on social media, I feel like social media is just, I hope it's trending in a different way, but I feel like there's so much fake stuff on social media and it drives me so absolutely crazy. And like, it's okay to be a beginner. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to be like me, who's many, many, many years into lifting and still like mess up, still wander around a new gym, still feel embarrassed when I drop my Stanley, you know? It's okay to be human. And 10 out of 10 times, I would say, I think that, like, one of the things that I find so respectable about other women are the ones who smile, are the ones who aren't glaring people down, are the ones, I mean, a lot of times that's genuinely not intentional, but I think you have to remember other people are human, you're human, and you're not being judged. I know it's so hard, but I really hope these tips helped you. So with all this, I will leave you to it. Go and write down all those tips, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye, my beautiful peach.